comment,
and subscribe for more content.
Where's the notification bell?
It's to the right of you.
Oh.
What's up, guys? DK Wrestler here, and in today's video I'm going to be ranking the worst to best San Diego Comic-Con 2022 Funko exclusives. So for this video, I will be going through the entire list of Funko exclusives, whether it's pops, sodas, loungefly items, even the Funkoville t-shirt will be featured in this video since it is a Funko exclusive item for San Diego Comic-Con. So without further ado, I might as well kick off with the worst item in my opinion, and that is the Ahsoka Tano cross bag from Star Wars. It's cool that they're bringing in some Star Wars items, except this is very simplistic with the logo, and especially with the little design of Ahsoka's hair, I guess you can say, or it's not really hair, but you guys know what I'm talking about. I don't think it's going to appeal to a lot of people, especially me. Next up would be the Gamora cosplay mini backpack, because all it is just like her attire, essentially. There's no like picture of Gamora's face on it, so I don't really think it's appealing. Plus the loungefly bags, because they are tiny, I'm gonna rip through them if I try to attempt on wearing one. Continuing on the theme of loungefly items, it would be the Captain Carter mini backpack that's next up on the list. I like the design of the UK flag, but at the same time, it's not as detailed as some of the items that we've seen as terms to the San Diego Comic-Con exclusives, especially for loungefly. Next up, and what would be the first pop on this list, is the Ted Lasso pop. Now, I know this is going to tick a lot of people off, but it's just too simplistic to me. If you gave this pop to me out of box and had me guess what character it is, I would have never said Ted Lasso. I probably would have said Ron Swanson, to be honest. So that's why it is essentially the worst pop, in my opinion, on this list. Next up would be the metallic Charmander from Pokemon, mainly because of the fact that we keep seeing these specification changes for Pokemon in terms of Comic-Con exclusives, and I'm getting tired of them, but Charmander, he's kind of my homie because I like Charizard, so he does have a bit of a higher personal reaction in my opinion. Next up would be the Peacemaker with the peace sign, and this is okay. John Cena, he's pretty cool, but at the same time, we've already seen a bunch of Peacemaker, the character himself, in pop form, and this one probably has to be the worst out of all of them so far. Next up would be the Funkoville t-shirt, and even though a lot of people do like this, I'm never entirely a fan of when Funko does t-shirts where you have a small logo on the front and then a huge logo, which should be on the front, ends up being on the back. I'm never entirely a fan of that. Next up would be the Hatsune Miku soda from Vocaloid, and this is meh. I mean, it's got a glitter chase even though it doesn't show it on the glam shot, but for sure out of all the sodas that have been presented for SDCC, this would be the least likely that I'd be picking up. Next up would be the Zowu bag from Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and overall the design is really cool, but I don't like how they wasted their time on the glow-in-the-dark aspect because it's literally just a couple of dots. Next up would be Cassian Andor for the upcoming series of Andor, and it's a little bit simplistic, especially for a Star Wars pop, which is why it's really low. I feel like though in the near future there will be more detailed pops, and if there was a more detailed pop, this could have been a little bit higher on the list. Next up would be a pop that just got announced today as I'm recording this video, which is the pop from the House of Dragon, or House of the Dragon, I can't exactly remember, the Game of Thrones series, and this pop is okay. I mean, she's got a dagger in her hand, which I think is okay, but at the same time, it's just a little bit too simplistic for a Game of Thrones-esque pop. Next up would be the Queen Historia from Attack on Titan, and it does have a bit more detail as terms to the attire and the crown than the House of the Dragon pop, which is why it's higher on the list, but it's still very simplistic, especially for an Attack on Titan pop. Next up would be the glow-in-the-dark Demogorgon with the bag bundle, and the reason it's at a decent spot on the list is because it is a bag and pop bundle. I feel like if these were separate, the bag would be much higher and the pop would be much lower because all it is a glow-in-the-dark pop. Next up would be the glow-in-the-dark digital stand from South Park, and I think this is okay. We got another stand variant, but it would have been much better and much higher on the list if it was someone brand new. Next up would be the butterfly mode Super Chocho from Boruto. I like the detail involving the hair and the butterfly wings, but I would have never really thought of Boruto as an anime Comic-Con exclusive. I feel like that could have been reserved for another anime, even if it was like a second one of something we already got announced for San Diego Comic-Con. Next up would be the Bambi with butterfly, which I think is pretty decent. We don't get Bambi pops too often, which got me a little bit excited, even though I don't plan on getting this pop. I still think it's pretty decent, but it's not really my cup of tea. Next up would be the Blacklight Huckleberry Hound soda, and this is a pretty decent soda. I mean, the common version kind of just looks like Huckleberry Hound himself, but then the chase is just a different color change, so it's nothing entirely different. Next up would be the glow-in-the-dark Louis bag from The Princess and the Frog, and this is pretty decent. I like the overall design with essentially where the zipper is, where it's connected to the mouth. However, I felt like they didn't need to make it glow in the dark because all that glows in the dark is literally one specific area of where the fly is on that trumpet. Next up would be the Yuji Itadori with Slaughter Demon. This pop is a little meh, especially because we already have a couple variants of this character in the upcoming wave of Jujutsu Kaisen pops, and I feel like this isn't better than any of the ones that got presented at Funko Week. Next up would be the Izuku Midoriya / Deku skateboard. The overall design is pretty cool, but we definitely have seen better looking skateboards as terms to Comic-Con exclusives, especially the Zombie Bart skateboard. Next up would be the Funko Soda of Otto from Fantastic Plastic, and even though Fantastic Plastic isn't really my forte, it's the fact that we have another soda that has two chases, because not often do we get two chases for a Funko Soda figure. Next up would be the Laser Power He-Man from Masters of the Universe. This one is okay. It's got a nice metallic effect because of the attire, but we've seen so many He-Man pops at this point that I'm getting bored of seeing more He-Man. Even if it was Skeletor, it would have been much higher on this list. Next up would be America Chavez from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Even though this one is simplistic in terms of the pop itself, I think that kind of star effect going on in the background really makes up for it and makes it as the best America Chavez pop in the entire Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness set. Next up would be Silk from Spider-Man. I like the overall design. I think it's pretty unique, and I might do more research on this character, judging by what I've seen so far of the Funko Pop. Next up would be the Purge Trooper from Obi-Wan Kenobi. This has a little bit of a personal reaction because I do really enjoy the Obi-Wan Kenobi series that just ended today as I'm recording this video, but I feel like we could have gotten something different as terms to a Comic-Con exclusive besides the Purge Trooper. Next up would be the glow-in-the-dark Skeleton Stitch bag, and I think this is pretty decent overall, and even the glow-in-the-dark effect involved is really, really cool. One of the better backpacks for San Diego Comic-Con. Speaking of loungefly bags, the next item is the Carl bag from Up, and I think overall it's pretty cool, especially how you have the torso as the front pouch and then the back of the bag is his face, and I think that's a really nice attention to detail, especially with the little great button on the side there for the pouch there. Next up is the glow-in-the-dark Corpse Bride loungefly bag, and I believe for this list this will be the highest loungefly bag that is listed on this, and the rest would be like sodas and pops. And this is really detailed, not only with the design of the front pouch with essentially the two characters there, but you also have the skeletons going on in the background which glow in the dark and really pop out well when you put a black light to it. Next up would be Hugsy the Penguin from Friends, and I do enjoy the design of this Funko Pop, but I don't have much of a personal reaction because I've only seen one season of Friends, and I'm pretty sure I never got to see Hugsy yet, although cool amount of detail and a cool looking pop in my opinion. Next up is the Toucan Pirate Pop for the Ad Icons lineup, and I think this is pretty decent. I really enjoy the Toucan pops, but I do think the other pop that goes along with this one is much better than this one. Next up, I have He Who Remains from Loki. I feel like the hype has really died down for Loki, where not a lot of people want to go and pick up this pop, and I actually totally forgot about this character until this got announced, to be honest, because of how long ago Loki was. Next up would be the Goku driving exam pop from Dragon Ball Z, and I do like the comedic aspect of this pop, where his eyes are closed and you can kind of tell that he's like laughing at whatever incident just happened involving his driving lesson. At the same time, I feel like there definitely could have been much better Dragon Ball Z pops. There has been in the past. Next up is the Bilbo Baggins soda from Lord of the Rings, and I think this is pretty cool. I like the common where it's kind of very simple, but you have this kind of scary face with a little bit of a different mold in terms of the chase. I think this was a well done Funko soda overall, whether it was a Comic-Con exclusive or not. Next up would be Serpentor from G.I. Joe. I like the overall design. The colors really pop out well, especially because those are the two matching colors for San Diego Comic-Con. So I think this might be a decent seller, and I think the design overall, like I mentioned, is pretty cool. Next up on my list would be Enmu from Demon Slayer. I think the design is pretty cool, especially for an anime pop, but if it was the character that people kept mentioning in the comments that I remember, but I forget how to exactly pronounce the name, if that was a Comic-Con exclusive, it definitely would have shot up much higher on this list, maybe even in the top 10 portion of this ranking list. Next up would be the Penguin in Duck Cart Pop Rides from Batman Returns, and I think this is a really cool looking pop as terms to detail, but I know for a fact I'm not going to be adding this to my collection because I'm not entirely that big of a Batman fan to want to also get this pop into my collection, so that's why it is not essentially like super high, but it's still, I guess, at this point in the middle of the list. Next up would be the Funko Soda of Larfleeze from Green Lantern, I believe he's from, and I do enjoy the design of this in terms of the comic, but then also the chase because it's got a slightly different pose and it glows in the dark with the flame aspect of this soda, which is really cool. Next up would be the Spider-Man 2099 pop, and I think overall, especially with the pose that it's involved with, is really cool. It's not exactly the Spider-Man 2099 that I'm used to, but it's really cool for the different design that we have here for the video game, which is why it's at a decent spot on this list. Scratch what I said about the backpack earlier, I forgot about this backpack, and that is the Tusken Raider from Star Wars backpack, and this looks awesome. The pouch has the mouth, and then the background has the eyes with the wrapping that obviously wraps around the face of the Tusken Raider. I think this is an excellent looking Loungefly bag, one of the best Loungefly bags I have ever seen Funko do. Next up would be the Star-Lord Funko Soda, and I believe this is the last Funko Soda to be mentioned on this list, so in my opinion, this would be the best. And it is the best because you have completely different molds and different versions of Star-Lord as terms of the common and the chase, where you have the masked version as the common and the chase is unmasked with the cassette. Really cool, and it will have a lot of people wanting to get more than 2 sodas to try to get the common and the chase. Next up would be the glow-in-the-dark 10-inch Ms. Minutes, and I really like the idea that they finally made a separate Ms. Minutes pops, but I'm not entirely a fan of how it's a 10-inch pop because of the fact that it's going to take a lot of room in someone's collection, but I do like it for the aspect that it's very accurate to an actual human-sized comparison to what the actual character of Ms. Minutes would be compared to a human. Next up would be the Scarlet Scarab from Moon Knight, and I think this thing has a lot of detail. I really enjoyed this pop. I really enjoyed the Moon Knight series on Disney Plus, even though I had no prior knowledge of the comic books of Moon Knight before the series. I believe at this point we are now at the top 10 portion of this list, which we have now Jeremy Jam from Parks and Recreation. You just got jammed. This is really cool. Brand new character that has never been made into Funko Pop form. So it's cool that we get this instead of, let's say, a new version of Ron Swanson or a new version of Leslie Knope like we got for FunCon last year. Next up would be Starfire from Justice League. I love the detail involved with this pop. I'm not going to get this pop, which is why it's not essentially at the highest point of this list, but the detail just really shot up this pop in this ranking list, in my opinion. Next would be the 10-inch Unicron from Transformers. Once again, the amount of detail added to this pop really got a personal reaction out of me, and I really love the wingspan, the facial expression, just everything involved with this pop, even the colors. Really cool looking Funko Pop. The next 2 pops would be the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers crossover pops, which in specific order of what I feel would be less than the other, I would say Donatello, then Leonardo, making Leonardo the better one, just because who says that Donatello is better than Leonardo? I feel like everyone says that Leonardo is the best turtle overall. Both these pops are really cool, but I think Leo is a bit better than Donatello. Next up on my list would be the 6-inch Young He doll from Squid Game, and this is really cool, especially because I got this prediction right without looking at any dirt sheet pages for a prediction video we did on the channel. I think this is one of those pops that needed to happen before they move on to potential Season 2 pops. Next up on my list would be Gran Torino from My Hero Academia. I've only seen the series once through, but I know one of my favorite characters while watching this series was Gran Torino, and I don't know why it took Funko this long to make a pop of Gran Torino. And what would be the number 3 pop on this list is the glow-in-the-dark Supersonic. This is really cool, but what could have made it shot up to the number 1 spot is if they added a cool, like, lightning energy base as he's trying to transform into Supersonic instead of just having a normal stand with it. Next up is going to be the SDCC Toucan playing the guitar. This probably would not even make it close to a top 10 list in anyone else's list, but this had a lot of personal reaction to me because of the fact that he's playing a guitar, I play a guitar, and there's not a lot of Toucan pops that really excite me all that much, so to see this as especially the very first San Diego Comic-Con exclusive that was announced by Funko was really cool to see. So I think this actually might be a pop that I actually would end up putting into my collection eventually, which is why it's high up on this list. And the number 1 pop, what I feel is the best SDCC exclusive by Funko here, is the flocked Krishantin from the Book of Boba Fett. A lot of people have been wanting a Krishantin pop since the Book of Boba Fett series came out, and the fact that it's flocked is just absolutely amazing. If this wasn't flocked, I still feel like it'd be in the top 10 portion, but I feel like maybe it'd be closer to number 10 and not even make it to the top 5 portion of the list. Anyways, guys, that is going to be the end of today's video. If you enjoyed today's video of the worst to best SDCC exclusives for this year, make sure you smash that like button. Comment in the comment section below and let me know what you think is the worst and the best exclusive for this year's San Diego Comic-Con. And as said in the little intro, make sure you press the subscribe button for more content like this video in the future, and press the little bell beside it to be notified of when that future content gets released. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching today's video, and hope to see you guys next time. 1, 2, 3, I'm out of here. Follow us on all of our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at A Funko Popcast. If you want to check out some of our other content that's featured on our channel, you can click either the playlist that's on your screen right now featuring previous episodes of our weekly podcast, A Funko Popcast, or we have suggested a video for you guys in relation to today's video.